Here Comes the Guillotine contains offensive language, mature content and adult themes. What did you expect? It's Frankie Boyle. It's not suitable for all listeners.
This is a Global Player original podcast.
Hello and welcome to Here Comes the Guillotine. I'm Frankie Boyle and I'm going to be talking to Susie McCabe and Christopher MacArthur Boyd.
You're talking about with your passport, mate. You've got history with your passport.
Well, I need it at all times. I just take my passport everywhere. I'm just kicking about.
That's why you're on passport number 5.
Why have you got your passport on you?
I don't even know anymore, because it used to be if I had to buy fags or, buy booze, people would go challenge 25 and I would say, I'm 30. And they'd say, well, you don't look 30. And I'd say, look at my hair, my teeth and the sadness in my eyes. And they'd say, fair enough, actually. But sometimes they'd ask for a passport.
I think your greying hair has helped with that.
Yeah.
You now look like a 30-something skunk.
A Wes. Elements of Pepe Le Pew.
A Wes Anderson Pepe Le Pew.
Mon chéri.
Because having a passport on you has a slight air of, I might need to flee the country at any moment.
At all times.
Without returning home.
Like, I've never left the house on a day-to-day basis and went, keys, phone, passport.
Do you never need to check into a hotel or something? And they're like, oh, we need to see some ID.
Aye, but not when I live in my home city.
Oh, yeah.
Britain?
Aye.
Britain?
Aye.
They take a passport from you?
Aye.
I've not had that.
Yes, because you stay in nice hotels. Me and Christopher do not stay in nice hotels. No.
Also,
your face is quite recognisable. Like,
that's a charitable way of putting it.
If you were checking into a hotel, I'd be like, oh, it's that guy. Because I would recognise your face. I wouldn't really need to see your passport. Whereas we go into hotels that are rough, where you would get chlamydia off the carpet. They look at us and they go, oh, we need to see your identity.
The budget Ibis in Portsmouth.
Oh.
With the porthole windows, even though it's never been a boat.
They're just going, the less you see of Portsmouth, the better.
I remember.
This is worth a star.
I was in Brighton for the Jubilee weekend last year. What Jubilee was that? Platinum?
The last one.
The last one. The one before.
That's how they should have built it. The final Jubilee.
It was weird they were saying that at the time.
I know, but I remember actually that weekend, because there was hundreds of signs that weekend. There was loads of signs, because she'd done the Friday, which was like a fly past, and she'd done the Sunday that was a big party, and Saturday was St Paul's and a church service, and the Queen's like, nah, you're all right. And I was like, the Queen's just treating this Jubilee the way the rest of us treat a wedding. It's like, I'll come for the stag, and I'll come for the party after, but I'm just going to miss the middle bit in between. Thank God, but no, you're all right. So I was in Brighton, and I thought, right, this will be fine. And there was one hotel with all the bunting and all the flags, and that was the hotel that I was staying in. Oh. And then to go in, I had to go into reception, which was next to the breakfast room, and the breakfast room was already made up with little Paddington salt and pepper shakers and Union Jacks. And then the guy who owned the B&B was Dutch, wasn't even British. And I was like, this is bonkers. And I remember thinking, I'd go back to an Ibis in Portsmouth with the porthole windows.
Was he Dutch in a Rangers way, though? The Dutch connection?
Oh, aye. Probably.
But isn't it often, right, national identity kind of comes from trying to attract tourists and other people to it? So nations don't just create their identity by themselves, by going, we're all like this. They're also kind of going, well, what would you like us to be? What do you want to buy? What do you, And so there's something about the royal family that inspires a bit of that. And people, the further you are away from it, the less you see of them, the more impressive it is.
Mm.
I don't know, because I think we're all pretty far away from the royal family, and none of us in this room are ever particularly impressed by them. In fact, I would go as far to say that you are the least impressed person by the royal family.
They really need to go back to the old thing of shutting the fuck up. The Queen,
quiet dignity.
The Queen at least knew, let's shut the fuck up. No one wants to hear this. And then when they started going, do you know what I think about environment? People were like...
See, to be fair, like, I remember watching the King's speech this year in Parliament, and I remember Charles' face, and he was just looking at it like, you are an actual bunch of rogues. Like, he can see that they are shit.
That's just the contempt he feels for all people.
Aye, true.
All
True.
humanity. He's just like, ugh. He's like a god who's like having to come down to earth. And he's just like, ugh.
That's why his fingers are swollen. His body can't contain his godhood. His mighty spirit is just swelling out through his hands. Just look like, I mean,
Savley mitt.
get a Savoy catcher's mitt.
Savily catcher's mitt. Oh, no. I don't know, I think stuff like that's like, it's just odd. We're just so odd. Like, we're just such an odd little country with all that pomp and ceremony when you've got poverty that's absolutely rife. But some people get so into it, and I'm like, that's weird. Like 60, 70-year-olds sleeping out in the street for coronations and funerals. I'm like, what are you doing? You can watch it on the TV, you'll get a better view.
I did discover a thing on YouTube, which is there is a whole genre of royal reviewer, right, which is always a gay guy.
Natch.
And he will comment on various happenings in the royal family. So, Prince Harry's back this week or whatever, and do a whole thing about it, right? And I think that's fine. Like, if you're a gay dude who's obsessed with the royal family and you've got a YouTube channel and your partner makes you record it in the attic because they can't handle any more of your royal patter.
Because ultimately the royal family's the one family that's never had a gay in it, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Interesting.
Who do you think's gay in the royal family?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. I really hope none of them.
You think you don't want your
I don't want them mixing with my people. Nah.
I think they go to places beyond gay and straight, and I think that's what the fingers are for. He's got a Harley Street surgeon inflating those tendrils. It's like an empathy tendril, I think. It sort of goes up you and it knows everything about you in an instant.
Yeah.
All of it is just odd, and it makes no sense that you have that in the modern world. Do you know what I mean? That we have like a king and the world stops. Like, I mean, literally when the Queen died, we had 10 days of national mourning on the television, on the radio. It's just very bizarre.
It's just colluded with by so many parts of society. So even like when they start doing the coronation, they're like, oh, the king's worth $2 billion. And you're like...
And Rishi's like, I can lend you some money, Charles, because I'm richer than you.
But like, they have the world's largest collection of Leonardo da Vinci art. What's that worth? Who's valued it?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'll tell you who valued it, or probably curated it, was Anthony Blunt. Former KGB spy, part of the Cambridge Spies. Sir Anthony Blunt, who curated the Queen's galleries, didn't he? And
What?
yeah, so you know the Cambridge Spies?
No.
Right. So the Cambridge Spies was a ring of people, Anthony Blunt, Kim Philby, Guy Burgess, and they came from the establishment, the British establishment. They were at Cambridge and they were recruited to be KGB spies.
And they were all gay?
No, they weren't all gay. Burgess wasn't gay. He was married to 2 kids.
Means
Kim
nothing.
means nothing.
Oscar Wilde had a wife, as they say.
Kim Philby was a bit of a philanderer. He was a bit of a player and a bit of a drinker, as you would be.
All right.
But they got to the very top of the civil service, like the very top, working directly for the Foreign Office. Like Anthony Blunt was curating paintings, blah, blah, blah. So basically, it got to a point where they were recruited and the KGB actually thought they were giving them bum information because the information was so good.
Right.
Right? And they were like, this is what's happening in the British state. And they really believed in communism and Russia and the communist state. Guy Burgess and Kim Philby both flee And the other one was Anthony Blunt, who didn't flee to Moscow, but they found out, and I think he was kind of retired quietly. Now, I may be wrong, but I think that's what happened. And then Thatcher named him
What?
in the Houses of Parliament, that it was Sir Anthony Blunt. So the result, aye.
And after that, the royal family had their fingers burned, so the only person they ever let get really close to them again was Jimmy Savile.
Thank God.
And he was a spy for hell.
And who's he? What was he up to?
He was marriage counsellor
To
for
Charles and Diana.
Jimmy Savile?
Uh-huh. Jimmy Savile. So they basically confided in him. I mean,
What type of advice was he giving them?
yeah, as a non-married single man, yeah, running about in a tracksuit, raising money for hospitals. I blame Jimmy Savile, right, for all his crimes, but here's another crime that he done.
I won't hear a good word for him.
For him, no. He kind of changed fundraising in this country and put it into the national consciousness, so that fundraising for things like Stoke Mandeville Hospital and children's charities, actually that burden became the burden of the people to carry, and not the government. Because he's like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. Oh, look, give me money and I'll give it to the... Oh, isn't that wonderful that we've got these great causes?
Undermining the link between the tax system and what services the country should provide is actually one of the best things he did, like compared to the other stuff.
Yeah.
Aye.
Who would have thought that could be a high point?
My girlfriend asked me who he was because she's from Australia and they don't really have him, and I was like, he was like a DJ.
He invented DJing.
Yeah.
So he got 2 decks, and it was
Two record players, wasn't it?
he had 2 record players so that there was no gap between the songs, because he noticed that the gap, the kids would leave.
Ugh.
And he doesn't want them leaving. He wants to keep them there. So by sheer force of
cage.
paedophilic will,
Yeah.
he invented the whole... And then, of course, they had Radio Caroline that was off the coast, so it could be in international waters.
It was on a boat. Honestly, this is like Epstein, Maxwell. Oh. So yeah, he done that, and then he got a job at the BBC, and then he got Top of the Pops.
He ran Broadmoor.
Yeah.
Edwina Curry was the health secretary, and she gave him the keys to Broadmoor and gave him a position above the person who was nominally heading the hospital.
Like the governor.
So he was running it.
Right.
And he would take people back there.
Always a bit of a red flag if someone takes
Want
you
to come
back.
back to Broadmoor?
But do you want to come back to where the criminally insane are? Listen,
You
I've got
play
a
some
lovely mate.
mine or Broadmoor.
What like's your neighbour? Lovely guy, Peter, used to run about Yorkshire. You should watch the Savile thing with Steve Coogan playing Savile, because Steve Coogan is tremendous in it.
Do you know what happened? I went round to my mum and dad's house with my partner, and the Savile thing came on. And my girlfriend was like, who's this? Who's this guy? I was like, oh, it's Jimmy Savile. Who is he? Oh, he's DJ. And then, like, the scene came on where he's, like, on a pier and the parents leave the girl with him and he's, like, she was like, what's he doing? I was like, oh, he's just doing Savile stuff. So then we went home that night and we were in bed. She said, I'm not really feeling it tonight. And I was like, what's up? And she was like, well, I seen that. It's the Jimmy Savile thing. And it's just really freaked me out.
Did you have to get the tracksuit on?
Did you pull out a cigar? Did you start smoking?
No!
Were you like, wait there, a big Cuban cigar, just like... bop, bop, bop.
No, I was just saying, you know,
Is this why you're growing your hair?
No, I'm not growing Savile hair, alright? That's not why I'm going grey, to try and appear Savile-esque. I'm just saying, as crimes haven't ended, he's still ruining lives. You know,
It's quite something to say to someone from another country, because no, you can normally go, oh, Chris Packin, that's like our Steve Irwin or something, right? You know, but you can't really go, oh yeah, every country's got one, you know, a guy
Rolf Harris,
guy in a
to an
tracksuit
extent.
who...
Guy in a tracksuit. There was another one. The Queen famously had her portrait done by Rolf Harris.
She was doing that for us. She was keeping his hands busy. She was taking one for the nation.
Thank you, Mum.
Thank you, Mom.
Thanks for your service.
is that kind of thing. A lot of Australian people don't really know what we're talking about when we talk about somebody like Rolf Harris or people like that, because they got kicked out of Australia for being too shite, but then their paedophilia and abuse got them popular over here.
We should have known when Rolf Harris got expelled from a place that we sent our criminals. We should have known something was up.
I don't think he was expelled, was he?
He was exiled like Napoleon.
I don't think he was. Oh, fuck off. I don't think he was exiled.
He was, yeah. They just went, what the fuck?
Somebody
Why?
knew.
Why are you running about with a didgeridoo?
No, that's fine
Just
over there.
Like, just that, out of the country. Out of the country.
That guy go to Britain, man.
Like, I remember when David Cameron was Prime Minister and he stood up in the House of Commons saying, we need to put this child abuse scandal in Westminster behind us. And you're like, yeah, because it's all your fucking old MPs and Prime Ministers that were involved in it. And he's like, no, it's a waste of public money. I'm pretty sure it's not, David. I'm pretty sure it's not a
Ted
waste of...
Heath with his yacht. Remember that? No. He'd probably greased the mast. And probably you tried to get away and you just slid back down into his arms, I'd imagine.
And then thrown overboard in the English Channel in between Jersey. There was also that, what was that home in Jersey?
Is it called something like Haute Laguerre?
Haute Laguerre, yeah. And they found a bath
Yes.
with like human blood and bones and chains and all that.
And then they went, like a couple of weeks later, they went, no, it's just coconuts. We thought we'd find a human skull. It was just, I don't know how much attention you've paid to this kind of thing. I've read
Coconuts.
Really?
But they also changed the investigating officer on that as well after he came out and made
From Bergerac.
Down. One of the greatest bass lines in TV history. Down.
I've never watched Bergerac. What was his thing?
His thing was he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But he was a dry alcoholic, yeah. And
Drove a lovely car.
he had a father-in-law who was a really rich guy with a yacht who was always like, you'll be back on the drink, Bergerac. That was a real arsehole to him, called Charlie Hungerford.
That's right. But
He was right. He had a point. He was always back in the drink, I guess.
No,
I think it's just solving crime.
He just drove about Jersey solving crime.
It'd be a pretty depressing bath night detective show if he got back on the drink.
So he was like a teetotal guy?
Yeah.
All right, okay, cool.
It was John Nettles, who's also
Midsummer
Midsummer
Murders.
Murders.
I'm trying to get Frankie to watch Midsummer Murders because I think he'd really like it.
Wow. Wow.
What?
You used to have been in tour too long.
Do you not think anybody would like it though? It's so good.
I have no desire to watch Lawrence Fox.
Big Loza, man.
Aye, so you can't be. I don't think you can be giving it the viewing figures for Loza.
No, I mean obviously
A
it's
man
like
who-
Columbo, isn't it? The later series are, to be ignored.
To be fair, it's Peter Falk, isn't it? Who plays?
Who's Columbo?
Who's
Yeah.
Columbo? Yeah, I don't think Peter Falk burned pride flags.
I know Peter
and
Falk never
trans
burned
flags on his garden fence. On
I
his
know
birthday or
Peter
Father's Day.
Falk, despite some accusations, never burned a trans flag on his
Hold on.
front garden.
What are the accusations against Peter Falk?
There's none.
Right, I was just checking because that would
Nobody's
have
ever
destroyed.
said a bad word against him.
That
He's
would
an
have
angel.
destroyed my
My
childhood.
wife, sir, she loves homosexuality. I can't stand it. I think it's disgusting.
is trans, but
I take my eye out and I let her fuck the sock.
That's not making the edit.
No,
No.
it's
think
not
so?
making the edit. No. There's got to be a line somewhere.
It's after that.
It's your face doing that impression. Oh no.
she takes the eye out. She swallows it, scoops it out. I put it back in.
Why is Savile okay and that's not okay? Well, we don't know, but there's a line.
I think it's because Savile was a prolific paedophile. Peter Falk was a beloved actor.
Also, Savile was doing things to dead bodies.
Sure, yeah.
Prolific sounds too admiring to me. I can't say prolific about it.
No, prolific
Sex
doesn't
offender.
mean good. It just means
Serial-
I know, but it
serial
just
sex
causes
offender.
strikers and stuff. You can't really say
Because of strikers?
Yeah, because you've got a prolific goal scorer, so you can't. So anytime you say a prolific sex offender, it just sounds like you're
like,
grudgingly.
what a shift they
You
put
know?
in.
Is it a wee bit like, do you know,
That's what it sounds like. What a shift. Prolific sex offender, honestly. You couldn't get him on the phone for love nor money. What a shift.
it's like in Harry Potter when Ollivander's talking about Voldemort and he's like, he was a great wizard. Terrible, but great. And then you can tell he kind of admires Voldemort on some level, who is arguably the Savile of the wizard world.
He wants to go back to school. It's all about school for these guys. I mean, what about the rest of society?
What, in Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Voldemort?
Oh, I want to go and take over my old school. Who gives a shit?
Is
Go
it
and-
Peter?
Go and take over the world, or like, what's your old school got to do it in?
It's complicated.
I want to go and fight a bunch of children in my old school. Soon I will become so powerful I can fight all the children in my old school.
If he takes over the school, it means he could teach them to be bad wizards and witches. If we start at school level, saying to them, listen, don't be doing any of that nice stuff, saving people. You want to be doing this dodgy stuff. That's
I
you,
want
that's
to
you.
restructure the curriculum.
That's it.
You're coming up with something that's not said in the books anywhere. He
That's
just
it.
wants to kill everyone at school.
It's very strange he doesn't go to like Parliament or something.
He's essentially a school shooter with a wand.
High school shooter.
An immortal school shooter. Yeah.
Where
it's
we
very
cult
strange,
following.
isn't it?
Oh my god, look who it is in the screen.
Donna
It's
Summer.
Dame Donna Summer.
Donna Summer.
Yes, who went mental. And you know, MacArthur Park's a terrible song, but still it's Donna Summer. I'm just going to genuflect. Oh, she's there. It's just for the gays' day.
On tour, one of the things that I have been introduced to by my tour manager, who is a gay lady, is
Phenomenal gay woman.
the incredible work of Barbra Streisand, which I now love. I'm playing the car all the time.
I tell you what, I am going to question her gay lady credentials, but carry on.
Oh yeah?
Has
I
there
would
not
have
been
thought
any Tracy Chapman thrown in? Bit of Joan Armatrading?
there has
Johnny
been a
Mitchell?
there has been a little Tracy Chapman, yes, but no Joni Mitchell.
What?
I'm already right there with Joni.
You're Mitchell pilled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long time ago.
What's wrong was there a beef between the lesbian community and the Streisand family?
No, it's just, you know, it's not a traditional kind of first route for a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to go into some melancholy, especially as teenagers, you know what I mean? We like a bit of acoustic guitar. I am not in love.
Because
Tracy.
Babs is a bit too, I'm going to go out there and get it, kind of, maybe more gay men.
100%. And I think she used to sing in the bathhouses, didn't she?
Right.
In the
Yes.
New York bathhouses. I'm sure she done that. As did Bette Midler.
I highly recommend the non-fiction book Turn the Beat Around, Secret History of Disco, if you want to read more about who was in the bathhouses and what they were getting up to.
Can I just say, Christopher recommended me this book, and that book is phenomenal.
Turn the beat around.
That's the one.
I read an amazing article which is about how Barbra Streisand got started. And she was 16 and she did a talent show in a gay club.
Standard.
And everybody was just in tears. It's a really beautiful article.
Listen, the gays, I'm telling you, and do you know the thing as well? See, once like your story gets out, especially for kind of older, I like to think I was a analog gay who became a digital gay, and because I'm of that generation where equality wasn't quite through, but society was getting better, and then it came through. But that kind of thing, like, we really hold on to our like cultural icons, especially people who done things like, you know, the gay bathhouses and stuff like that, your Streisand, your Manilows, your Midlers, and that's a thing, like, culturally we hold on to those people like Harvey Milk, like, just heralded for being who they were and what they brought, because all those people brought a little bit of something to where we are today. And then that's why I get so annoyed when I see members of the LGB community going to attack the trans community, because I go, it was like a trans person that started the Stonewall riot. You know, it was a black trans woman who had been male to female trans who helped that riot and started that. And nobody in Stonewall that night went, oh, well, you're trans and I'm gay and I'm a lesbian, so, you know, we'll all fight the police separately. And that's why I get really annoyed with the elements of the LGB community who kind of turn on the trans and kind of sneer and sniff and, oh, you know, this, that and the other. And you're like, wait a minute, you can't have all the rights that you have and then deny someone else. Like, we're either... None of us are emancipated or we're all emancipated. Do you know what I mean? It's that. So, yeah. So those kind of cultural icons through the kind of decades, even if you then go like Madonna, Kylie, even like Cyndi Lauper, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just stuff like that, then become people that we really hold on to, because there is an element, and I'm probably just that crossover generation where you go, we didn't have cultural icons. We had people go, no, shut that door. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have...
Well, you had to project onto people, like Batman and Robin or something in the 60s, where people were like, oh, we'd project onto this as a couple because there's no other kind of...
Representation.
Yeah, representation.
You still get that, though. You get people who are like, I mean, I just think it's so great that Harry Styles allows, through his music and his work, a kind of gay idea. And they're like, but he's not even fucking gay. Like, he's gay cunts. Go like them, but they're like, no, he's straight and popular, so it's like...
But then is Harry Styles doing anything different from David Bowie?
Yeah, he's shite.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like, image-wise, he's not.
We're all just queer baiting on some level.
Aye.
Of course,
No,
100%. I'm very guilty of that, but...
Image-wise, he's not doing it like Bowie was like that, you know, that kind of...
Bowie would have never wore a fucking knitted onesie, but and then wore a big daft hat. No, that shit. He looked
Nazi
terrible.
uniform, to be fair, so, you know.
Harry Styles wouldn't shag Iggy Pop.
No. I couldn't believe that thing Richard Pryor shagging Marlon Brando
Oh, right.
They
Because you know Richard
fucked.
Pryor was freebasing.
at the time.
Yeah, you'll shag anyone if you're freebasing. He was freebasing so much that he was coming coke.
Wow.
Yeah, his girlfriend at one point was Pam Grier. She went to the doctor and said, "Oh, I've got numb, nether regions." And
Non-vajayjay.
yeah, it was basically Richard Pryor was coming coke.
What a way to get high, though.
Yeah.
Being shagged by Richard Pryor and just having residual coke come inside you, and you're like, this feels amazing.
Well, Marlon Brando felt like that briefly.
Yeah, I bet it did. It's like an X-Man power or something. Imagine you had Wolverine, Colossus, and Richard Pryor, the coke comer.
Only comes in for certain missions. Are we really going to need the... Yeah, I'm afraid we are.
He had the powers of a few superheroes. He kind of had the Human Torch quality as well, Richard Pryor.
For people who don't know, Richard Pryor went on fire freebasing cocaine.
Flame on!
I did not know that.
What?
All of it. All of it. So back onto your Barbara Streisand. Right, so your new love of
I
Babs.
love Babs. And I feel empowered by her work.
Wow.
But an incredible voice. Incredibly pure and powerful voice.
What's that song where she holds the note that you were showing me?
Before the parade passes by. And the end note would be impressive at half the length. It's incredible. It's like goes screaming across the room like a shell.
Can you do a retelling of it?
No.
There are three
For copyright reasons.
there are three people in this studio. One of them's gay, and it's not the one talking about Barbara Streisand. That's all I'm saying in that. This is a revelation to some people, because I found out when I was doing New World Order with Frankie, and he told me that he watches Queer Eye for a straight guy and cries at the end of every episode. So, I don't know, maybe there's two homosexuals in this studio. I don't know.
What bit is it that
I don't
makes you
cry
cry?
every episode. But some.
Some episodes.
Yeah. I always watched it with Mia, so she would you can't really have a tear in your eye with Mia. She'll be like, ah! And you're like,
Your
And that
evil
is
daughter.
quite funny. when you go through 20 years of your reputation and now we're sitting talking about Queer Eye and Barbara Streisand, I'm like, this is amazing.
I love a bit of Queer Eye, but they need to broaden it out a bit, don't they? They've kind of done it all. They need to go in Queer Eye, a school.
A school?
A restaurant. Yeah, like I think Voldemort in some senses was trying to Queer Eye Hogwarts.
He's trying to bring a gay, evil vibe to it.
A gay evil vibe.
That's interesting. That's an interesting choice of words, Christopher.
A gay evil vibe.
An evil gay vibe. Is that better? I guess for me it's kind of difficult to understand the cultural connotations of Barbara Streisand, in that when, growing up, she was like the mum in Meet the Fockers.
She's a very good actress.
Yeah. She's in for a girl. Bette Midler's a good actress as well. You're talking about
Phenomenal actress. Diane Keaton.
Oh, I love Diane Keaton.
I had a big thing for Woody Allen films when I was a teenager, so...
So that's a warning sign. Out of the country! Out of the country!
And that is why he carries his passport on him.
I remember getting a bit of stick. I went as Woody Allen for Halloween when I was 18, and everybody was like, "You're not a monster." And I was like, "I think you'll find out."
That's the equivalent of a kid turning up nowadays dressed as Jimmy Savile. The Halloween party.
Woody Allen is the levels of Savile if we're ranking monsters.
I don't think we're putting monsters into league tables. I'm just saying.
Is that not what this podcast is?
Finally a theme.
Theme is emerged.
The league table of
And
monsters.
one thing you can say about Woody Allen, he just was not prolific enough.
Wasn't he putting the numbers on the board, One stepdaughter, come on.
He had talent, the boy.
He's no, we're not talking Savile levels here.
He never pushed himself.
Could have achieved so much more. He's too busy playing the clarinet and making movies.
Marrying his stepdaughter. Classic Alan.
I mean, it was weird.
It was weird.
It was weird. Like,
It's not illegal, but it was weird. Very weird. I'm not in defence of...
You know, with some of those where you're like, there must be states where that's illegal. I mean,
You hope.
you hope. Or they shouldn't create one.
Yeah.
like what age is he now?
Like 90.
And what age is she now?
About 40 years younger than that.
That's grim, innit? That is so grim.
The rule to me is half of your age plus 7. Is that not how you work out if something's acceptable or not?
I've never heard of that, but I suppose that would kind of make
So
sense.
if you were 30, half that, 15 plus 7, 22, a 30-year-old could conceivably go out with a 22-year-old, but if you were 30, you went out with a 21-year-old, it's like, ooh.
I'll
Do you know
knock
what I'm
off a
saying?
couple of years for Nazism.
Because they're notoriously mature, those Nazis.
Do you know the photo of the Nazi book burning? They're burning a library of gender-related books because, like, they had trans people and all that back in the day on the
Aye,
various
'cause
medical
trans
books.
people haven't just arrived as much as what the Daily Mail will be like, this is a newfangled thing. It's not. They've offered trans people for hundreds of years. But so they were building it, they were burning it on gender identity. As much as things change, they often stay the same. That's quite... No, it's quite... That's where we're at.
Wish I'd brought my passport.
When are you going to your fortune teller?
Don't know, not heard back yet.
I've never been. I'm too scared that I'll believe it and become a mad tarot reading guy, I'm easily led.
Just Disney.
The Catholic in you doesn't.
I am like, oh, can't be touching that nonsense.
Crystal ball.
I mean, I'm alright sleeping with women, but not so much the tarot cards. That's what I'm saying, the occult.
Anything that allows too much room for interpretation is usually bullshit. So when they go, this is the towers and this can mean good things and bad things. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? So like, if someone was turning over a card that went weight gain, job loss, but you get your hole or whatever, I would be like, okay, that's interesting. You've really literally put your cards on the table.
But when they
Oh,
bring up
that's-
the death card, and
the
they're like, well,
death card.
sometimes that's good.
It could be a good death. It could be the end of a phase, or fuck off.
Could be the death of a sadness in your life.
Could be the death of a sadness in your life. My mum, great. About time.
Yeah. Are you a big horoscope person? I know you're a Bible basher.
Right into the Bible, mad for the Bible. No, not at all. I mean, I like my astronomy. That's
Mystic
close,
Meg.
as close as what I'm getting to being Russell Grant. It's going,
Oh yeah, you're a big
Jupiter's out tonight. Oh.
telescope adjuster.
So,
Going out into the what forest is that you were in? The Argyle forest?
Dumfries, the
Dumfries.
Dark Sky Park down at the Galloway. It's massive.
I'm absolutely terrified of stars.
Oh yeah.
I'm terrified of space and the fact that we're in space. And I find it absolutely gives me like panic attacks.
Go and make a cup of tea for this.
This is the main difference between you and Susie.
Hold on to be get into Frankie Boyle, the Barbara Streisand fan who's scared of stars in space.
I'm scared of. Are you not scared of them?
No.
What, the vast, empty, airless void of space?
But I've been there my whole life.
And what good's that done?
Ended up here.
I think
Yeah, I
if you
suppose.
think too much about it, it becomes
Exactly. Never think
Overwhelming.
about it. Never think about it at all. Certainly don't look at it.
Never think
The
about
idea of
anything,
looking up
please.
at it.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
The sun. Not only are we going around the sun, but the sun is moving.
Yeah.
Where has it been? Where is it going? Just endless nothing.
I feel
Yeah.
like you're a man who watches Doctor Who and then thinks about it for days after it.
I loved Doctor Who as a kid, and then I never watched it as an adult because I was like, I'm an adult now. And the whole culture has gone, well, we think the opposite.
Yeah.
I think it would be amazing, right, if you could find out like another Earth where different things have happened, like the opposite decision was made. Do you know what I mean? Like Kennedy wasn't shot. Like Hitler didn't come to power. Like how different would the world be?
And you just arrive on them and you go, who's the famous Phoenix brother here? And they're like, Joaquin. They're like, Joaquin? Holy shit.
What world is this?
The bad one?
Have you seen how much of a big deal they're all making about going to space? Like the governments, like even the British government, it's like, oh yeah, we're looking into space research, and you're like, yeah, because this planet does not have long. That you need to start to do things now because we're all going to die.
These are the things billionaires are doing. They're building bunkers in New Zealand, or they're obsessing with getting to Mars, or they're thinking about AI. How do I download my consciousness and fire it across the universe?
Also, the bodyguard problem that you were saying.
There's a huge bodyguard problem. Day 2 of the apocalypse, the world's ruled by bodyguards. It's the famous saying. Because you're in a bunker with a whole load of bodyguards. What are you going to do? Well, what you need to do, I think, is have another bunker with their families being held on a video link. But again, those will need to be bodyguarded. So you can end up with a huge chain of bunkers.
With just loads of bodyguards.
Also, I think you have the last bunker's family members in the first bunker. So then you've got a tight chain.
Yeah. A perfect Ouroboros of bunkers. It's that thing of bodyguards. You don't want a bodyguard who's too powerful, but then you can't have a bodyguard that anybody could beat up.
Also, the thing with bodyguards is they're always notoriously reasonable.
I think these billionaires are going to need to have hookers in there. If you think of what Trump's bunker is going to be like, or whatever, or Elon Musk.
That's a separate bunker.
What we should do now, well, it's an adjoining bunker, perhaps.
Right.
And what we should do now is start radicalising sex workers to kill these people post-apocalypse.
So what we're going to do is take a section of society who have been notoriously mistreated since the days of the Bible, and then we're going to radicalise them to then save us
Not so much save us as get our revenge
Right.
post-death by killing billionaires during.
I don't know if the
Orgies.
sex workers will be up for that.
I think it's certainly going to be a tough opening conversation. We subliminally start coaching them. You know?
I don't know any sex workers to coach, but
No.
sure.
No, me neither. Christopher, you've been ominously silent.
I'm just trying to think about how to communicate with the sex work community. I know 2 sex workers maybe, but I don't know how to contact the. Maybe if this podcast became popular in the sex worker community, I don't know how global advertising works in terms of being targeted, but if we could hit that demo, we could maybe start that process.
Yeah. Start kill billionaires if you get the chance after the apocalypse. We'd like you to do that.
Also
please.
before the apocalypse.
Oh, ideally before.
I don't know if that's going to solve that problem, boys, but we can have a bash.
How are they dealing with the bodyguard problem? They're putting implants in the bodyguard's brains, or
Well, this is another thing I thought. You could put an implant in the bodyguard's brain to make them think they're the billionaire. Yeah? Then you guard them. But, I mean, I can see problems with
you
that
need to
as well.
invent that implant.
I need to invent a whole type of neurosurgery.
Yeah.
But
It's not impossible.
well, one of the things they do is they say, well, could we get shock collars and stuff like that? I mean, this has actually been talked about. So they've got futurists out to talk to billionaires and stuff about this. And they're like, well, day 2, they're taking the remote. You've got to go to sleep. They're going to get the thing for you're wearing that shock collar pretty soon. And then they start talking about implants and stuff like that. So Douglas Rushkoff, the futurist, he said he got taken out to a meeting in the desert with a whole bunch of billionaires where they were like, how do we control our bodyguards? Yeah.
You'd hate to disappoint with a bad dance. I don't know. They go, are you kidding, man? We've took you here to this cactus.
I want to know who the billionaires were that were at that meeting.
Yeah. I mean, they are thinking about all this stuff. They are building bunkers in New Zealand. They are planning for societal breakdown. Things like, you know, when you see zombies and stuff everywhere now, that's just the people that own the media's fears about society. Oh, it's all going to go tits up and we're going to get chased down the street by thousands of people at a time. And they've just managed to give that to us, that anxiety. But that's we're actually going to be in the zombie horde.
Sadly. You always think you're going to be the guy wearing the vest inside the shopping centre, but you're actually going to be eating someone's brain. I'd be a shite zombie. Because they're all fast nowadays. You know?
I don't have the cardio for the whole zombie apocalypse.
Nah, the old school zombies I could
I
manage.
don't know if you'd want to even put up a fight, to be honest.
I think there'd be a lot of running gently towards the zombies.
I'd be diving brain first at them. I'd be cracking it open. Just
Which
so
is
they
from
hit the
COVID,
exit.
we know that about 20% of people won't believe that they're zombies.
Yes. And then they'll start to give you reasons why they don't believe that they're zombies. I had an uncle, my grand's brother during the war. John was home and the air raid siren would go off and my uncle or my great uncle John would be like, no, I'm not going. If the Luftwaffe are going to kill me, they can kill me in my bed. I'm not going to sit in a stony shed. And I was like, I think that might be my attitude to the zombies. I'm like, oh, if you're coming, you're coming. I'm not outrunning you. I'm like, do you know what? I'm just going to have a cigarette, a cup of tea. I'll wait. I'll just sit and wait. I'll listen to a nice record that I want to listen to. And just let them come. What's the point in trying to outrun them? I'm old.
I would dress
My
and
wound is
behave
barren.
like a zombie. Like, in the hope. I mean, I'm pretty much there anyway. Well, like, I would do a bit of that and then go, if that doesn't work, I'm fine with being zombified.
Yeah.
Aye. But then it's the effort you're going to need to put in when you are a zombie. Because they're going to have levels. They're going to have KPIs.
Did you
Key
see that
performance
shite thing
indicators.
they done on Netflix? And it was like the last Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, the new one where it's like the casino. They have to do a heist in a casino, but then the
zombies.
Like, the zombies have like a king zombie, and his baby dies, and everybody, all the zombies are like, no, so no. You're like, that wouldn't happen.
That wouldn't happen.
Amazing.
He has like a zombie miscarriage or something. So
There's nothing worse than when it's an unrealistic zombie scenario. Come on.
Just ruins it.
It wouldn't happen. You know what I mean?
Black Summer was really good on Netflix. That was great. Zombie, totally depressing, really grim. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really into the zombie things.
It's overdone now, isn't it?
I just don't.
They took a good thing and they just drove
What
it
are you
around
into
and
then?
around.
Serial killers.
I do like a wee serial killer. I do. I love a wee serial killer. I like serial killers. I like assassinations.
Zombies.
I've been reading a
Well,
book about an Irish serial killer and he got 2.
Gooby?
Yeah, Gooby. That's quite good going in Ireland.
2.
2.
Do you know Gooby?
If you get 2 and one of them is not you. Gooby was like, there's a good podcast about it by the Irish Times or something. And it's like, Gooby was a scandal during the Charlie Haughey years.
Right.
And it was a guy murdered 2 people. He was just an idiot trying to get hold of a car and a gun and rob a bank. And he killed the woman with the car and he killed the guy with the gun. And he didn't rob a bank. And it was really poor. But he turned up in the head of the Irish legal system's flat. So it was a huge scandal, and it's called Gooby because it always says at the front of the podcast, it was grotesque, it was unbelievable, it was bizarre, it was unprecedented. Goobo. This guy was just a complete maniac, but in Ireland, that's pretty good going.
Yeah.
They don't really have it there.
I watched a programme the other night on these. So basically, there was a family of 2 daughters. The daughters were older, and the mum was seeing a guy who'd went to Ireland as like an asylum seeker, got like taken into the country and was working and all that, right? All the kind of positive stuff. And then like, so she was separated from her husband, and she was separated from the husband, and I think her 2 sons, so the 2 brothers, were in prison. And apparently this guy that the mum was seeing tried to kind of hit on one of the daughters. So the daughters and the mother murdered him. Like, brutally murdered him. But they had to get rid of the body. So the next day they had like chopped up bits of his body. So they were in the cafe having their breakfast with his head in a holdall. Just like, have breakfast, then we're going to throw this in the river. And then some of his stuff get found in the river, and they basically went, does anybody know these clothes? And this guy's like, he's only like 1 or 2 friends, obviously. And they were like, oh yeah, that looks like his clothes. And that was the last time I seen him. I've not heard from him since. And they were like, all right. So then the police were like, do you know it? And then the mum's like, no. And the daughters are like, oh no, this is terrible. No, we've got no idea. And then they started to get a bit suspicious, and they went round the house with the luminol. And the luminol was like, this is where he died. This is where they cut up the body. This is all the blood spray.
What's luminol? Is that like the glow in the dark stuff?
Yeah.
Aye, it shows up blood that so you can't actually get rid of it. Apparently, like there's no kind of cleaning product that can get rid of blood. If you put luminol over it, it will always show up.
Although if any advertisers believe they have such a product, this would be the ideal.
Please contact. Here comes the guillotine.
Apparently, the luminol will always show up.
But you can get rid of the luminol.
You can get
You don't have glow in the dark blood all over your house for the rest of the time. No,
it's just
sorry.
under the luminol.
I think the river is the first place they look for a head. So if I'd murdered someone, which would be a panic thing, an accident, I don't intend to murder anyone, but the
Right.
first thing I'd do when I'd get a fake head, I'd make a head out of meat, draw a face on it, put it in a hold all, throw it in the river,
Felt tip.
and then the police are like, we don't know what's going on here. And they've wasted some time.
I would release 10 heads.
What I would do is make some paper mache heads.
Yeah, well, think of all the first places you're going to put the head. One, the river. That's number one.
Beach.
Number two, you bury it on a beach or something like that. Number three, throw it into some kind of industrial bin on a farm,
Acid
and so
bin.
on. So you get
Do
you
what
get
the mafia done, just put them in like dumpsters.
yeah. Well, that's what do you do with the real head?
Keep it on a
It's
mantelpiece.
a bit
Draw
Dennis
attention
Nelson.
to it.
It's a bit Dennis. Oh,
I would
hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
Savile it.
This is my fake head.
I would throw it
looks
off
good.
a ferry. I'd throw it off a ferry.
Fairy head.
I'd set up a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, what do you call it, like a convention in Ireland. I'd set up the whole thing and I'd be, I'm so into this. And I'd go overdressed as the guy from Hitchhiker's Guide to Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yeah.
But one would be my victim's head. And during the course of the ferry journey, while posing for selfies, I would knock that head into the Irish Sea.
And go, no, my fake head.
My paper mache head.
All the other Zaphods were like, that was a belter.
That paper has sunk incredibly quickly.
The only publication that will cover the crime will be the Douglas Adams Fan Monthly.
Until a powerful seagull drops that head into the middle
And
of
the
central
police commissioner's lunch.
Belfast, yeah.
Yeah. And it's
What's this, Peter? It looks like a...
this is Goobo. That's it this week for Here Comes the Guillotine. We'll be back next week with more anti-authoritarianism and chummy laughter.
You can get all the episodes of Here Comes the Guillotine on Global Player right now. Search for Global Player on your app store or go to globalplayer.com.